Eddy Vos was born in the quiet Dutch province of Brabant, far away from the chaos of Amsterdam's red light district or the violent streets of the capital. His childhood was modest, shaped by hard-working parents who taught him discipline and honesty. Unlike many who later filled the police files he would read, Eddy did not grow up surrounded by crime. He lived in a calm community where everyone knew each other and where children played football in the streets until the sun went down. This upbringing gave him strong values, respect for others, the importance of fairness, and a deep sense of responsibility. Even as a boy, Eddy had a clear idea of right and wrong. At school, when bullies picked on weaker children, Eddy would step in. Teachers noticed his courage and his ability to calm conflicts without violence. While other children dreamed of becoming footballers, musicians, or rich businessmen, Eddy's dream was different. He wanted to protect people. He believed that rules existed for a reason and that life should not be about who is strongest, but who is fair. These early experiences planted the seed of justice in his heart. When the time came to choose a career, Eddy did not hesitate. While some of his friends chased factory jobs, quick cash, or business opportunities, Eddy walked into the police recruitment office. For him, wearing a uniform was not just a job, it was a calling. He wanted to make society safer and to stand up to those who misused power. The police academy was not easy. It demanded physical strength, sharp thinking, and discipline. But Eddy thrived there, quickly proving himself to be more than just another trainee. At the academy, Eddy was taught how to investigate crimes, question suspects, and control dangerous situations. He learned that being a police officer was not only about strength, but also about patience and observation. A single detail could change the entire direction of a case. He was fascinated by how detectives could solve mysteries through small clues, a cigarette butt, a footprint, or a phone call. His sharp eye for detail set him apart from many others. Even instructors whispered that Eddy had the natural instincts of a born investigator. After graduating, Eddy's first assignment was in a small local unit. He walked the streets, calmed domestic disputes, and chased pickpockets. These early years might not have been glamorous, but they were important. They taught him how ordinary people lived and how crime affected their daily lives. He saw how theft could destroy a family's savings and how violence could scar entire neighborhoods. This gave him motivation. Crime was not just about statistics in a file, it was about real people suffering. Eddy's sharp instincts and hard work did not go unnoticed. Senior officers realized he had the potential to handle bigger cases. Unlike many who were satisfied with routine patrol work, Eddy always asked deeper questions. Why did this happen? Who benefits from this crime? What is the bigger picture? This mindset led him to join investigation teams where he worked on robberies, fraud, and organized theft. His reputation grew. Colleagues respected his calm nature, his sharp brain, and his refusal to give up on difficult cases. In the late 1980s, Eddy transferred to Amsterdam, the beating heart of Dutch crime. The city was changing fast. Nightclubs, casinos, and international trade made it both vibrant and dangerous. For Eddy, this was a huge step. He went from small-town police work to facing professional criminals with millions at stake. Amsterdam was not just about pickpockets. It was about drug smuggling, extortion, and organized crime networks that operated across Europe. Many young officers were scared of the city's underworld, but Eddy saw it as a challenge. He knew he was stepping into a storm, but he was ready to learn and fight. At that time, Klaas Bruinsma ruled the drug trade. Eddy Vos began studying his empire carefully, knowing that Bruinsma was untouchable, but not forever. Eddy saw how cocaine and hashish money turned small-time hustlers into millionaires. Violence was increasing every year. Shootings, kidnappings, and casino disputes became common in Amsterdam. The underworld was no longer hidden. It was in the streets. Unlike gangsters who acted quickly, Eddy believed in patience. He studied patterns, wiretaps, and movements for months before making moves. One of Eddy's biggest strengths was recruiting informants. he convinced small criminals to trade information for protection. Though Cor van Hout and Willem Holleeder were jailed, their release created a new wave of crime. Eddy knew the fight was only beginning. Instead of only chasing drugs, Eddy followed the money, laundered cash, fake businesses, and suspicious casinos. By the 1990s, Klepper and Mieremet, spick and span, were climbing. Eddy began to map out their connections and power plays. His work consumed him. Eddy spent nights at the office, living on coffee, always one step behind or ahead of gangsters. The underworld knew Eddy's name. Some criminals even threatened him, but he refused to back down. Eddy realized that many gangsters were driven by pride, greed, and betrayal. He used this knowledge to predict their moves. Amsterdam's casinos became battlefields for money laundering. Eddy and his team watched carefully as violence escalated. When Bruinsma was killed in 1991, Eddy saw the empire split. This was both a challenge and an opportunity for police. After Bruinsma, dozens of smaller groups fought for control. Eddy's job grew harder. Too many suspects, too many crimes. Released from prison, Holleeder became one of the most feared figures. Eddy focused heavily on tracking his movements. Eddy learned that Dutch crime was not just Dutch. It had ties to Colombia, Turkey, and Eastern Europe. His team used modern techniques: hidden microphones, tapped phones, and undercover agents. Slowly, the puzzle came together. Eddy also fought corruption. Some officials and businessmen were secretly helping criminals. This made his job even riskier. Thanks to years of work, Eddy's team made major arrests. Each one shook the underworld and proved that police could strike back. Eddy gathered files on Willem Holleeder's extortion empire. These files later helped bring Holleeder to trial. The job took a personal toll. Eddy lived carefully, avoiding routines, knowing he could be targeted. Journalists began to write about him, calling him the man who dared to face the underworld. His name became public. Sometimes Eddy's operations worked perfectly. Other times, gangsters slipped away. But he never gave up. He realized that arresting one criminal did not end crime. Someone new always replaced them. Within the police, Eddy Vos became highly respected. Younger officers saw him as a mentor and role model. When Holleeder was finally arrested and later sentenced to life, Eddy's years of work paid off. After decades of service, Eddy stepped back from active duty, but he continued to advise and share his knowledge. His career showed that one man's determination could stand against an empire of crime. He proved that patience, intelligence, and courage can outlast fear and violence.